There we go. Okay. We'll go through our topics tonight, and everything for the most part will stick to this schedule. If for some reason we get a little ahead of ourselves, that's okay. That just means we'll get to go to dinner a little bit faster. All of our participants joining us from home, again, your cameras are not on, so please feel free to get very comfortable to watch and get all of our information. And then at the end of our program, any questions that you have, some of our speakers will be staying with us to answer any questions that you might have so that we can get you some answers for those questions. All of our speakers are here shown with their contact information. So if for some reason they cannot stay till the end and you have questions, or what always seems to happen, we tune out and then you think of a question, this will be shared with everyone and you can contact them after the fact. And I'm sure all of them would love to help with anything that you might need at that time. We are going to go ahead and get started with our Overcoming Personal Stigmas with West Virginia Prevention Solutions.
Hello, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Technology, you know. Okay. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Candy Travis and I work for West Virginia Prevention Solutions. We're the lead prevention organization in Region 4 covering 13 counties. We focus on substance use prevention, suicide prevention, and mental health awareness. Today, I'm going to go over just a brief portion of a larger presentation that we have regarding addressing stigma. Today, when we're talking about stigma, we're going to focus mainly on the self-stigma, but there's 4 categories of stigma. There's public stigma, self-stigma, courtesy stigma, and structural stigma. So each of these categories build upon each other. But today, as I said, we're just going to discuss the self-stigma, but it's important to touch a little bit on the public stigma as it leads into the self-stigma. Public stigma is the public's reactions to individuals with stigmatizing conditions, such as substance use disorder or mental health disorders. Public stigma shows up in pictures of our head that we hold for others. We may believe those with the stigmatized condition are dangerous or incompetent. It can also show up in prejudices towards a group and in discrimination. Public stigma can lead into what we're here to talk about is self-stigma. Self-stigma is when a person has a condition and adopts negative beliefs from the public stigma. It is identifying with and internalizing the stigmatizing beliefs others have created. It is seeing ourselves as others have categorized us and agreeing with the prejudices and discrimination. Self-stigma shows up in the stereotypes of the self. Understanding ourselves requires us to observe and evaluate our own behaviors. It requires us to compare our behaviors and choices with others. It is natural to make comparisons. We do this every day. Comparing ourselves helps us gauge our abilities and talents. Understanding ourselves also depends on seeing ourselves through the eyes of others. So doing a quick thought experiment here, how comfortable would you be, say, to go to your supervisor or your boss or somebody that you may look like as an authority figure to you and telling them that you need to see a doctor because you sprained your wrist? Now, how comfortable would you be going to that same person and telling them that you needed to see a counselor because you were dealing with some excessive anxiety? If you can feel a little bit of a difference in those feelings there, that's self-stigma coming into our thinking. Self-stigma can result in lower self-esteem, feelings of shame and guilt, reduced sense of hope, reduced social support, increased symptoms, and decrease compliance with treatment. Self-stigma manifests as fear of being judged negatively. It is feeling fearful of seeking support, of seeking help. It is the fear of being blamed for your illness or your condition. It is being afraid someone will find out about a particular condition or think less of you because of it. Humiliation, shame, and guilt are important considerations in many aspects of health, particularly with behavioral health conditions. Increasing shame can absolutely make things worse, not better. Let's look at substance use disorders, for example. We know treatment can make a big difference and can help a person before he or she experiences bigger and bigger consequences because of their substance use. People can be reluctant to get help for substance use disorders, even when they think that they need it. There has been and continues to be a large percentage of America's population needing treatment for an illegal drug or alcohol use problem. How might self-stigma play a role in this huge gap between the number of people expressing a need for treatment and the actual number of people who get treatment? While there are a number of factors that play a role here, I think it's safe to say that stigma is one factor that can get in the way of early identification and intervention. Some ways that you can approach self-stigma may include getting the mental health help or substance use disorder treatment that you need. Try not to let the fear of being labeled with a mental illness or substance use disorder stop you from seeking and continuing with treatment. Do not believe it. Sometimes you hear or experience something often enough, you start to believe it yourself. Try not to let other people's perceptions influence the way that you feel about yourself. Mental illness and substance use disorder are not a sign of weakness and are rarely something you can cope with on your own. Talking about your mental health or substance use issues with healthcare professionals can help you on your path to recovery or management. Do not hide away. Many people with mental illness or substance use disorders want to isolate themselves from the world. Reaching out to people you trust, family, friends, religious leaders, sponsors, recovery, or peer support persons can mean you get the support that you need. Connect with others. Joining a mental health group or mental health support group or a substance use disorder support group online or even in person may help you with many feelings that you are having, such as isolation, and help you realize that you are not alone in your feelings and experiences. You are not your condition. Other people might define you in such a way. Instead of saying, I'm bipolar, you can say, I have bipolar disorder. Instead of saying, I'm an addict, you can say, I have substance use disorder. There is power in language. Don't sell yourself short. You are so much more. It's not personal. Remember that other people's judgments often come from a lack of understanding rather than anything else. These judgments are made before they get to know you, so try not to believe that their views have anything to do with you personally. Additional tools and resources can be found on West Virginia's website to address stigma at stigmafreewv.org. You can also find this presentation in full, where it goes over each specific type of stigma, as well as how to overcome some language barriers. So using that person first language. And another helpful resource that we have in this state is helpandhopewv.org. This website can help you learn about the science of addiction, prevention, treatment, and recovery of substance use disorder in West Virginia. Help and Hope WV can connect individuals, communities, and professionals to substance use disorder, behavioral health, and suicide prevention services in their area. Thank you so much for having us here today, and I'll be sticking around, so if anybody has any questions, I will be in the breakout rooms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Candy. All right.
Oh, thanks, Kayla. I was gonna bring that up, but you are faster than me.
Do you want to do it? Are you okay with me clicking through them?
No, I'm happy to have you click through if you don't
Okay.
mind. Yeah, so hi, everybody. I am Mandy Filippelli. I'm the Grants and Partnership Development Officer at the Center for Excellence in Disabilities. I also teach occupational skills with the WVU Country Roads program, which is on campus inclusive program for individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities. So jobs and education are really my focus in my career. And I'm excited to share with you all that are here with us today. And I'm hoping that we'll continue to have this resource for people to come back and view moving forward on our website. So if you want to go ahead, Kayla. I'm going to start with talking about choosing college programs, and then I'm going to touch on scholarships that are available. So you guys are here for me for the next 2 spots, and I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. So we're going to look at how you can effectively choose a career pathway based on informed decision that's going to have a bright outlook, somewhere you can be successful for many years. We're going to review resources that can help you determine how to best use your skills and interests to choose a course of study, of education. And we're going to look at tools of a comparison to determining which college or path of education is going to be best for us based on location, duration of educational program, what kind of supports might be available, and of course the cost. And then we'll look at those scholarships next. Go ahead. Okay, so thinking about your educational goals, and these may change over time. You may enter a program and decide you'd like to go another direction. So I'm going to try to cover a wide variety in my few minutes of the options that you can choose. And there really are so many choices. We could probably talk for the next few hours. So I would encourage anyone that has questions to please reach out and continue this conversation with myself and Kayla. So what are you looking to do? Think about what your personal goal is. What do you want to get out of your education? How do you want to put it to work for your career pathway? And how do you want to feel once you've accomplished that goal? And so you want to start there. And then moving forward, write a clear goal statement. Now this might seem silly, but I would encourage you to write this goal and put it on your refrigerator or put it on your bulletin board, or if you journal, keep that near you so that you're remembering what your motivations are. And so I gave some examples here. And again, it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be something very intricate, but why are you doing what you're doing? So some of the examples may be that you want to increase your budget. You want to set a good example for your children or people around you. You just want to enhance your employment, get a better job. Why not? You've put the work in. Maybe you started school and you'd like to finish it. Or maybe you're just looking to expand your interests. So people attend different schoolings for a lot of different reasons, but I would like for us all to think about what our own personal reason is, because we can't attend something for other people's reasons. So we have to have our own internal motivations. Go ahead. And then once you've decided what that goal is, create some action steps and take steps towards that career goal. So whether it's education or training, vocational, we'll look at some of the different options. And some of the things you might want to include when you're deciding is you might want to take a self-assessment. And if you're not sure what that is, I'm sure Kayla can help you, or any other case managers that you're connected to. They might be called interest inventories or career assessments. They're essentially activities, and I think I have a picture of one later in the presentation. They gather information on what you enjoy doing and what your skill set is. And then it helps you narrow down a career goal based on what those are. Just career exploration. I just came from a tour of Ruby Memorial Hospital with a group of students. We visited all the departments. We learned about entry level the whole way up to having a doctorate degree and what those opportunities are. So just asking other people what they do and what education they needed to get where they are can really expand your opportunities. And then look for something that you're interested in, whether it's short-term training all the way through a degreed college program. And then of course, the important stuff, the bottom line, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to get there? And who do you need to support you? And I think I've got a lot of links that I shared here. And I think, Kayla, you're going to put those links together as a resource. Awesome. All right, very good. Thanks. Go ahead. Okay, so I just wanted to share this infographic to help us get motivated. If you are motivated by finances and your income, this gives you a good idea of what the difference is if you attend college versus, less than a high school diploma the whole way up to a doctoral degree. And so those blue numbers there show you your weekly earnings. And so we go from a weekly earnings of around $600 with less than a high school diploma, the whole way up to almost $1,900 a week with a doctoral degree. So you can see the range of opportunity there. And maybe you're not looking to attend 8 years of college, and that's okay. You have to decide what's an appropriate plan for you, whether it's an 8-week training program or 8 years of college. And you're going to fall in the range there. It's not for everybody. So I just wanted you to have an idea from, so we go from less than high school diploma to that some to college, maybe that's an apprenticeship or some on-the-job training, to associate's degree, which is typically going to be your 2 years, bachelor's is going to be your 4 years, and then beyond, we've got the master's, the more professional degrees, and the doctorals. So you're going to fall somewhere on that spectrum, and you need to decide what kind of time and money you're willing to put into it. Go ahead. And I mentioned different ranges of education. So maybe a 4-year degree isn't what you're seeking to do. Maybe you'd like to get some training and education under your belt and go to work in 6 months or go to work in 2 years. So this just gives you an idea of how much time you'll need to put in based on what level of education you're seeking. So you could just do short-term training, truck driving school, the Jumpstart PIA truck driving school. That's an example of a short-term training that you can do quickly, and they have great placement rates, and you can be behind the wheel of heavy machinery or have your CDL within a few months and get out there making money. Or you can do some other options. Go back. The college degree, which I mentioned, which is your associates and your bachelor's, the certification, and a lot of these, like the certification, you may even do, you might do a year-long program, but maybe it only costs $1,500. And so then when we get to the scholarships, we'll mention some ways that you may be able to get your entire education paid for through different scholarships and opportunities here in West Virginia. Go on, thanks. I mentioned interest inventories and assessments. Again, if you're not sure what you want to do, I took one this week with my students. I take one about every year to make sure that I'm in the right industry, because if you're unhappy in your job, you might be unhappy in life. And so I try to keep tabs on whether I belong in the social industry. And so far I do. But my interests do change over the years. And so I like to take these. There's plenty that are online. You can just go on, they suggest that you don't do them more than 6 months repeatedly, because they do take a lot of time, and you're not going to change your interests a whole lot in that period of time. But you can do these anytime. They're usually like 60 questions, and you say, I like to do this, I don't like to do this, or I'm not sure. And they give you a great list of things that you might excel at. Go ahead. This is a fantastic website. You're going to see this in my next PowerPoint as well. Pathways to the Future. This is funded by the Division of Rehabilitation Services, and it is a clearinghouse. Now you can go to the Center for Excellence in Disabilities, and we have a wide variety of resources available on our website for clients and community members to come and benefit from. But this website, I think they were funded specifically to house all this information. So it really is, I think, the greatest clearinghouse in the state for employment and education information. And you'll see along those purple bars there, I highlighted education on this one just to give you an idea. It'll send you to a variety of other resources within the state and link you up with those. You could spend hours on this website and not see everything that's available on it. So I'd encourage you to visit the Pathways to the Future website and just click around a little bit and see what kind of resources apply to you. This is another one of my favorite websites. This landing page is actually their credentials center, but I would encourage you to just spend any time at all on the careeronestop.org website, because there's a variety. You can take the interest inventories right here on this website. You can watch videos of people doing their jobs, like 1.5-minute videos that just give you a quick look at different industries. This specific the Credentials Center can specifically help you plan your education. You can put in different information that you're looking for. You can look at different local areas. And so I would encourage you to use this website for lots of things, whether you're in the job search, education, maybe you're just trying to improve your soft skills, what you need to go to work. Check this website out, Career One Stop. And the last one, the last website that I wanted to highlight in regard to choosing an education program is this collegescorecard.ed.gov website. And this is another really cool clearinghouse. You can see I just took a screenshot of a few of the main colleges that were highlighted in West Virginia. So we have Institute of Technology, Potomac State, WVU, and Wesleyan listed there. And each college, you can look at any college. It's funded by the Department of Education. So we know that it's got credibility and validity to it. And you can read how much the programs cost, median earnings of people coming out of the programs, and just a quick look at those scorecards if you're not sure what educational institution or what program that you're interested in, if it's higher education, if it's college. Okay, so that was my quick intro to choosing a college program. I know there's a lot more to it than that, but hopefully something there caught your interest and helps point you in the right direction. And then once you've been pointed in that right direction, how do you pay for it? This also could be an all-day training, depending on what your eligibility factors are. A lot of things in your life will be based on whether you're going to be eligible for different scholarships and grants. So I just tried to highlight some of that information. But again, if this is your individual goal, your pathway is going to look different from everybody else's. So I'd encourage you to get some support in looking at what that pathway is. So this is specific to post-secondary programs. We're going to decide, okay, what do we do once we've chosen something? How do we take that next step? And what resources might be available to us, and what support services might be available to us if we need some case management or other tools. Okay, this website should look familiar because I really want you guys to walk away with this as part of your personal toolkit. Pathways to the Future, I'll say again, funded by the Division of Rehabilitation Services, housed by Community Access, Inc. here in West Virginia, a great resource that they're the great networkers in the state of West Virginia. So their job is to go and find all this information and put it together and present it to us so that you can have all the tools that you need. And I'll point out that little circle in the top right with the body. Yeah, I should have taken a screenshot of that. That's an accessibility kit that's part of this website. It is the coolest accessibility feature I've ever seen on a website. If you click on that, it brings up an entire menu. Maybe you need the screen to be a different color. Maybe the brightness is harsh for you to look at it. Maybe you need to change the size of the font or the color of the font, or have a screen reader. So I would encourage you to check that out. It's just a really neat gadget as far as accessibility goes for websites. So Pathways to the Future, check it out for scholarships. Go ahead. Again, another familiar website. I'm sharing these with you guys because they are my favorite tools. And, I've been helping clients for 20 years navigate education and employment systems. And this is where I go to get my information. So I think it's good to share with you all so that you have these tools as well. So it's a scholarship finder. You can do it by keyword. So maybe you're looking for a specific eligibility. Maybe you're looking for scholarships or grants for women, or for a person with a disability, all sorts of different demographics, the scholarships, fellowships, grants, and other types of awards. You might have something as specific as, I don't know, a single mom from Kentucky. The scholarships are very, very specific. And so it can be a little bit overwhelming. So if you can use these tools and put in keywords and find things that are specific to you and something you may be eligible for, that really makes it a lot easier. So career one stop. Moving on. So just a quick rundown of Financial Aid 101. Where do I start? What do I do? So you've already decided to further your education. So that's great. We already saw how it can increase our bottom line income. And so it's an investment in our future. We know that the people around us are going to be proud. We're setting a good example for our loved ones and our family members. And so thinking about these different questions and what your pathway is going to be is going to help you really take that first step and have direction. Okay, so I mentioned the different eligibility factors. So the first thing you need to do is just look at what's out there and think about, okay, what is specific to me? Might I be eligible for a scholarship based on my geographic region, based on a disability status, any other, ethnic, lots of demographics are eligibility factors for different grants and scholarships. And then get yourself out there and apply. Find out the different websites, like some of these tools that I've given you, put in the keywords. You're not obligated to accept any financial aid until that moment occurs when they're saying, okay, you're eligible for this. We're gonna grant you these funds. So there is no harm in applying. At the same time, if you've read the eligibility and you know you're not eligible, don't waste your time and don't waste the time of that reviewer on the other end of that paperwork. But if you find you're eligible, someone's going to get that grant or scholarship. So you might as well be in the running. So if you're eligible, throw your hat into the ring. You can also seek guidance from your specific institution. So maybe you've checked out the scorecards, you know where you want to go, call financial aid and see if they can help you. And then you'll get your award if you go that direction. Make sure you know all the options. You don't want to get in over your head, borrow more than you need, buy TVs with your college loan. These are all situations that will get you in further trouble than you need. So make sure that you're borrowing money responsibly. And then, of course, you've put in the work, enjoy your program. Obviously, it's something you're going to enjoy doing it if you've put in the work and made that choice. So enjoy it, get as much as you can out of it. If you go and you don't pay attention, you deserve the education that you receive. So if you've chosen something that you're truly interested in, put your all into it and get as much as you can from that experience. And just a couple other resources I wanted to share with you. So those will come out on your website list. CFWV.com. It's the College for West Virginia. It's the Department of Education sponsored resource here. So lots of stuff you can get on there, toolkits, workbooks, that Financial Aid 101 book, you can have that mailed to you. So that's really helpful. And I think I have one more. Yeah, this is a really nice search engine. Of course, you put in keywords and you have to sort through all the junk. And again, you're looking for things that you're specifically eligible for. But this smartscholar.com is a really nice search engine. It's got one of those clearinghouses that I mentioned. They've done the work for you. So go see what you're eligible for on this website and apply. And then support services, and I know I'm out of time, I'll wrap it up. So just look out there, HEAPS grant. If you're doing a short-term training that's under $2,000, the higher education adult, I can't remember what it stands for, but the HEAPS grant covers $2,000 completely of the program that you're going to attend. So let's say the program's $1,500, you need some kind of tools or resources to go along with that. It's under $2,000, it's all going to be covered by the HEAPS grant. So I'd encourage you all to check that out here in West Virginia. The SMART 529 plan, if you're a Social Security beneficiary, you have some special resources available to you, like a PASS plan that you can set money aside from your earnings. And then Workforce West Virginia, and I'm pretty sure that's my last slide, is just making you aware that Workforce West Virginia has a ton of programs. Youth goes up to 24 years old. So maybe some of you are within that age group. Then there's adult programs. They can help you pay for gas, help you get to work, support you if you're having trouble, that sort of thing. So please reach out to your Workforce West Virginia regions, and they have a great website where you can search for jobs and educational opportunities. So I'd encourage you to check out Workforce Jobs at, that's not the website, that's an email address. workforcewestvirginia.org, and then you'll see job seekers, and you can follow this whole pathway and stop at all the stops and take all their resources. So it's out there, just have to go and get it. I believe that's it for me. Again, I'm at the Center for Excellence in Disabilities. I work with Kayla. So if you are connected to Kayla, you are connected to me, and I'll be here the rest of the session. So hope you guys have some questions. Appreciate you.
All right, we're going to keep it moving, and we're going to go on to Miss Deb Harris with Jobs and Hope. Some of you may be familiar with Jobs and Hope, probably have heard of it, but you may or may not be aware of what all kind of falls under their umbrella. So Deb is going to talk to you a little bit about that.
Thanks, Kayla, and thanks everyone. Thanks for asking me to come here and speak and share about Jobs and Hope. Always get excited to talk about Jobs and Hope and share the good work that's being done throughout the state. So Jobs and Hope was announced in 2019 by Governor Justice in the state. We are legislatively funded through the Department of Education and DHHR's Office of Drug Control Policy. We have 20 transition agents located statewide, and we help individuals eliminate barriers to career employment and connect them to training and education opportunities. Our end goal for everyone is career employment. So career employment to us is defined as more than minimum wage, benefits eligible, opportunities for promotions and, moving up in the company, those types of things. We currently have over 1,600 participants statewide. So our transition agents have a pretty large caseload. We do require that our participants are enrolled in some type of training or education activity. Eligibility criteria to be a Jobs and Hope participant: you have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to be a resident of West Virginia. You have to have some type of barrier to career employment. You have to submit a monthly drug screen, and you have to be ready for some type of training or education or career employment. Our target population is individuals who are in recovery from substance use disorder and those reentering society from some type of justice involvement. So we deal with lots of day report drug courts, but that is not a requirement for Jobs and Hope. Only having a barrier to career employment is a requirement. And Mandy, what a great presentation on finding out what your passion is and looking for career inventories and financial aid. All of that is super important for someone looking to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life, because that's a big decision. I always tell my son, you don't have to decide on what you want to do for the rest of your life. You just have to decide what you want to do for right now. Do that for a little while. And if you don't like it, try something else. So that's really important to know as well. So Jobs and Hope has statewide partners with career and technical colleges and CTEs and adult education facilities statewide. We also partner with Workforce West Virginia and the Development Boards and the Division of Rehabilitation Services. And I see CORE is on here. We also work very closely with them through Marshall Health to really serve West Virginians and help them in any way we can to make them all successful. Some of the barriers that we help to eliminate are transportation, childcare, dental and vision. Those are the big rocks that we see time after time. I always joke that I have nightmares about transportation, and if I could solve the transportation issue in West Virginia, I could also solve world hunger. It is a real issue in West Virginia, so we have a few different things that we do to try and hit it from different angles, and not all of them are perfect, but we keep trying to improve those solutions, month after month, day after day. So we can help active Jobs and Hope participants and refer them to any of those resources mentioned to help them improve their quality of life. I'm not going to go much further into detail, but I will say that you can refer yourself to Jobs and Hope by going onto our website or calling our hotline. And I'll make sure I share that information with Kayla so she can send that out to everyone on the call today.
Great. Thanks, Deb. Okay. So for most that are in our call, I know I have talked to, I think, 2, but everyone else probably knows a little bit about what impact is because you are already a participant and hopefully are working with one of our patient navigators. Right now, our patient navigators, Ashley, Abby, and Mykesha. So hopefully you know who your patient navigator is that you work with. And I am kind of on a different part of impact as the education and employment specialist. And since I have not met most of our participants, I wanted to take a second and just kind of get out there what I could help you with as far as employment and education are concerned. So with impact, things we can help with employment and some things that I've already started helping participants with. If you need help making a resume, a lot of people don't even have resumes. If you need help just updating a resume, a lot of people have been out of the workforce for a while, so we just kind of need to dust it off and clean it up a little bit. Submitting cover letters, gathering references. A lot of times that can be a difficult thing to do when, again, you've been out of the workforce for a little while, picking people that would be the best individuals to put for future employers to contact and hear from you. And that's just something we could kind of work with. I also, a little bit about me, I was a high school teacher before this. So I taught preparing for colleges and careers with high school students. And I promise there is nothing that you guys could do that I probably haven't already heard from kids. So mock interviews. If you it's just been a while since you've had an interview and kind of want to go through questions and answering questions and get some tips about, is that the proper way to answer a question, or what do you think about that? We can set up a Zoom call. If you live close enough, maybe we could even set up in person to get together and we can kind of go through that. Also, if you just need any preparation for the interview, interview attire is one that a lot of people have questions about. There's a lot of people that have been in different professions for a long time, and I still don't think they know what proper attire is sometimes in the workplace. So never a bad thing to refresh on. On our Impact website, we also have some links because these tend to be some concerns of some of our participants that we serve, things like who's going to watch my kids. And I know that's a huge one. A lot of folks who come to me are looking for part-time or remote work from home. And there are some of those jobs out there, but currently after the last couple of years, a lot of those are very heavily sought after. So sometimes it's hard getting that. So we want to make sure that your resume, your interview goes really, really well, and that you're kind of on top of things. Education, you may not be wanting to go to college, and that's absolutely fine. But we also have participants that maybe didn't end up graduating high school. And if they didn't, then we can look at going back and getting your task or your GED and getting that graduation certificate equal to your diploma. And Mandy had the image up there, just going and getting that GED, odds are will improve your income and will improve the odds of you getting a job. So anything that we can do, a certification, maybe an associate, online schooling is an option, especially if that childcare is kind of an issue. So we can look at all of that. And then we also, along with education, doesn't mean going back to school. If there are things just coming up in life that you might need help with, and Deb kind of joked with transportation, that's one that I haven't found a good answer for yet either. And I know that's one a lot of people struggle with. If there is anything, just parenting, some of you have your first children, and sometimes there's embarrassing questions that come up. Shoot them my way. I will help in any way that I can. Home maintenance, nutrition and wellness. If we are maybe wanting to look at some different ways to cook certain foods, I am more than happy to help with that. And I also have a background with food science and nutrition and wellness. So please, by all means, shoot me an email, let me know. And again, all of those pictures, that information is available at our website, and everyone will get a copy of this presentation at the end. And all of the links that are through here will be shared with you so that you have access to all of those links as well. One thing that we also do with Impact is we make a lot of communications with other individuals out in the community that can help you. And right now we have with us Dr. Kim, and she is offering something very, very cool to all of our participants. And I'm going to let her take a second and tell you about that.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity to be here speaking with everybody here. Some of you might have already received this poster before I send out a few goodie bags with information in there, but I received last year a grant to provide consultations for anybody and everybody in Impact WVU Impact family or in clientele. So the whole purpose of that is to provide education and information, and also specific questions to be answered for yourselves as well as the children. I'm a pediatric dentist. I'm a faculty at WVU School of Dentistry. I do have the knowledge and experience to help you out as a pediatric, but also I've worked as a general dentist for the pediatric, so I can help with the adult tooth questions as well. For anybody that has trouble with transportation and reaching us, or there are some questions you don't feel like it's necessary to come all the way out here, but it's kind of burning question, you could always use teledentistry. So what it is that just like telemedicine is now the thing, you don't have to be physically in our dental clinic, but we can be connected by Zoom and we can talk about it, or you can show something in the child's mouth or yourself. Your family members, if anybody is interested, and just let me know, we could communicate about that as well. You could reach me by email, probably is one of the best ways. It's right in there. Calling is fine, you can leave a message, or if you get somebody on the phone, then they'll direct you to the right place so we can have teledentistry for free of charge. Okay, so that was all I wanted to say, and it's good to see the faces here. If there's any questions, please shoot up. I'll be right here until 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. If anyone has questions for Dr. Kim, please feel free to put them in the chat box. If you're not real familiar with Zoom, if you look at the bottom of your screen, when you kind of hover over all of the pictures, some boxes will show up down at the bottom. And if you click the text box that says chat underneath of it, you can put messages in there, and you can either put it for everyone, or you can also direct message Dr. Kim as well if you would like. All right, we were supposed to have Bree McCulty joining us. She had a last minute issue with job scheduling. I am still hoping that she will join us before the end of this. But what I am going to do is I have a video, and this is a little bit of a time filler, but also I feel like this kind of shows us what Bree was going to talk a little bit about. Oop. Hopefully. Hold on one second.
I would wake up in the morning and take 4 pills.
It's going to be really loud. I can feel it.
I would wake up in the morning.
Hey, Tequila. I think you have to stop share and check share sound maybe. It's usually what I find myself having to do.
Yep, it was not on there. Thank you. Let's try this again.
I would wake up in the morning and take 4 pills and snort 2. That's just to get.
Maybe.
I would wake up in the morning.
Welder is recovering from a 10-year opioid addiction, which began when he took Vicodin for pain while working at a steel mill.
Did you lose the job?
Actually, my job went to China, and that was my excuse to do even more pills.
Have you?
Okay, everyone.
I would wake up in the morning and 4 or 5 different jobs since then.
And what happened to those jobs?
I lost them all due to being addicted to opiates. They would random drug test me, and I'd be like, well, see you later. You know, I'd walk out. I even got caught one time with synthetic urine in my underwear because I got pretty slick at using that, you know.
Do you stash it in your underpants?
I would stash it in my underwear, and I'd go in, and it's synthetic urine. It's got everything in it that you need to make them think it's your urine.
Out of work for 3 years now, Oates is just one example of how the opioid crisis has decimated the American workforce. Business owner Clyde McClellan has seen plenty of other examples.
We have people that come in on a regular basis looking for employment that are obviously under the influence when they come in.
Really, you can tell?
Oh yeah, they look like they're walking dead. I say, you know, we're going to send you for a drug test, and what is the drug test going to show us? Most of the time, if it's pot or booze or anything like that, they tell me. If it's something other than that, they don't come back.
McClellan owns American Mug and Stein in East Liverpool, Ohio, once known as the pottery capital of the world, with dozens of firms. Foreign competition has since wiped out all but 2 of them. McClellan owes his survival to his top customer, Starbucks. You'd think would-be workers in town might be flocking here, but they're flocking to drug dealers instead.
One day I was looking out of my office in 2015, and there were 2 policemen standing in my driveway with rifles. And I went out, and I knew one of them, and I said, what's going on? He said, well, we're raiding this house that's next to your building and for heroin distribution.
And these indelible photos of a couple overdosed in their car with their son in the back seat were snapped just 3 blocks from here. You don't need experience to get a job at American Mug & Stein, but you do need to be clean. Half of the applicants aren't.
I've been an employer in this area since 1983. Drugs were not at the forefront when you were talking to somebody about possible employment. Now the first thing we think of is, are they on drugs? How do we find out what kind of references?
Somebody came in here looking for a job with a reference from one of your other employees?
He was using this person as a reference, and when we asked the employee, he said, he's a dope head, he steals money, he has stolen money from me. Obviously, we didn't bring him in.
Donna Debo has been there. A full-time waitress, she was prescribed opioids after a car accident. In time, scoring heroin became her main line of work.
It is like a job itself, actually. It is.
Just trying to find that day's drugs.
Yes. And then once that day is over, your mind's already going 1,000 times a minute thinking, what am I going to do for the next day?
How long have you been out of the workforce?
I've been out of work for about 7 years.
The prime skill she honed? Shoplifting.
I would go into all the stores. My trunk in my back seat would be full with everything. Sears, I'm no longer allowed on their property. I stole so much from them, I probably own their store.
And then there was her daughter's new cell phone.
We had some people over, and all of a sudden it just came up missing. I made it look like it came up missing. I am the one, actually, in fact, that did it.
You stole it from your daughter and sold it?
Absolutely.
Scott Schwind was a well-paid machinist when his addiction took charge.
I was just working to supply myself. I would have people come to my work, deliver stuff to me at work. You know,
At the machinist
Yeah,
shop.
I was on third shift, so they would come at night and bring me stuff. But that's how I messed the job up, is I wouldn't show up, or I was doing shady stuff, like having people come there. I'd be in the bathroom for half an hour. So I lost that job, and then I've had other jobs, but I've never been able to keep a job for long because of the addiction.
So how long have you been out of work now?
Since 2011.
Schwind, Oates, and Debo are now sober and enrolled at Flying High, a nonprofit program in Youngstown, Ohio, to get those out of the workforce back in. It teaches hard skills like welding and machining. An urban garden is for soft skills, showing up on time, teamwork. Jeff Magada says job training is critical to places like Youngstown. Its population down more than 60% since its steel furnaces last ran full blast.
You don't have a lot of industry coming here because they know there's not a lot of skilled workers here, and then workers who can also pass a drug screen.
That's a problem for Michael Sherwin's company.
We've had positions open for 1.5 to 2 years.
Sherwin's Columbiana Boiler Company has lots of demand for galvanized containers, but figures it's foregone some $200,000 in business because he can't find skilled, drug-free welders.
We'd probably lose 20 to 25%.
Because they can't pass the drug test.
Flying High places ex-addicts in shops like this and pays their salary for 6 months. But the threat of relapse is always there.
You can see as you get bigger, they get wider.
That's why Scott Schwind is taking it slow.
I just want to get a foundation of being sober and dealing with things before I jump into a job and all that stress, and, you know what I mean, having a bunch of money in my pocket to where I'm not tempted to do something that I'm going to regret, because like the drugs out there today will kill you.
Why would
Okay, let's try this again. Did the video come through? Yes, okay, great. All right, so taking away from that and sort of what I had talked with Bree, the biggest thing that I hope to kind of get by here in this little bit of time is the difference between a hard skill and a soft skill. And if you've never heard of a hard skill or a soft skill, essentially on the screen right now, a hard skill is something that you are taught, that you can show you know how to do. So in that video, welding, you have to be taught how to weld, and that will be a hard skill. That's something you could put on your resume. If you've gone to school, if you have a certificate, if you have your degree, whatever it might be, that's your hard skills. And sometimes it's very, very hard to sell yourself to an employer if we don't have a lot of those hard skills. Some don't really have a lot of experience in employment where they have racked up a lot of hard skills, or you've had a large vacancy in your employment history where now you're having to be reintroduced to it. So you may have had hard skills in the past, but they're not really applicable to what you want to do. So what we want to also know and focus on are soft skills. And a lot of times those can pull just as much weight. However, they're not as easy to show a lot of times, especially when you're going in for an interview or you're having to write them down on a resume. So making sure that we can get those across wherever we can. And sometimes if we're not ready to go into the world of employment yet, or we're not ready to go back to school yet, these are things we can start working on at home, or when we're out in public, or if you're going to meetings, whatever it might be. There are some things that you can do to help improve those soft skills. Harvard, the Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Search Center concluded that approximately 85% of job success comes from soft skills. Those are things that you are taking with you and could potentially take with you from job to job. They're not things that you are going to have to learn, like learn to weld. That would be in the 15%. Those are our hard skills. Yes, you may have to have those, but those other things are just as important, if not more important. And some of those, I'm going to hurry through these next couple slides. The most important, and this is in all industries, you can find a whole lot of soft skills that are very important. And some of them are a lot more important depending on what kind of work you want to go into. But communication is a huge one. And that doesn't mean that you have to go out and give a speech. Communication just means that you are good with your internal and external communication and working with employers, a boss, making sure that you can take instruction and go with it. Your attitude. Attitude is a huge thing in the workplace. If you're able, that doesn't mean that you have to just be all smiles and positive all the time, but you can kind of work your attitude toward whatever it is that you're working with. Leadership. Again, that doesn't mean that you have to take charge in every single situation, but you are able to kind of work in a variety of environments and be able to help stay organized and reach a goal. Teamwork. Are you a team player? Can you work with others? Granted, there are going to be some jobs, especially those wanting to find jobs from home, where you don't have to work with people every single day, but odds are you're still going to have to work with people somewhere along the line. Work ethic. Do you show up to work? Are you a good worker? Are you a hard worker? And then problem solving. Are you able to figure something out, or are you having to go and ask questions and get help every single time something happens? And again, you can't really put these on a resume. They're not your hard skills. So number one, make sure we can make your resume as attractive as possible and really promote the things that are on there. We can highlight those soft skills in cover letter. That's definitely a place where you can put those in highlight. We also can utilize those soft skills when you're answering questions in an interview and bring it into play and really show off your skills without possibly having as many hard skills as someone else. And then we can also relate a lot of those soft skills and how they might be related to a hard skill that that employer is looking for a particular job. And just as an example to end on, there are a lot of famous people, and I found women because I knew that was primarily going to be our group today. But there are way more men that I could find than women, but I wanted to highlight 3 women that did not have a ton of hard skills. In fact, most didn't even graduate high school or went back and received a GED. And all of them had, I mean, look at their net worth, 100 million. Coco Chanel before dying in the 70s. Ann Beeler, if you've ever went to the mall, I know that I stop every single time and get some Annie Ann's. You just can't pass it up when you smell it. 1.5 million. And then we also have Mary Kay Ash. I've never been a Mary Kay person, but my entire family is. My grandmother and mother, if you walk into their bathroom, they're a huge part of that 98 million. But these are all three self-made individuals that had a ton of soft skills.
Wow.
So hard skills are not all there are. If there is a particular hard skill, then we want to work on it, but we can also work on strengthening those soft skills to make you an even better risk for an employer. All right. With that, we are going to go back to prevention solutions, but this time we're going to hear from Jill.
Good evening, everybody. I am happy to be here with you this evening and talk a little bit about things you can do on your own to really try and help what you're doing when it comes to getting ready to go into the employment. So let me just pull up my screen for you. One of the big things people want to know is, where do you look on your own? If you're at home or you're looking at classes, what else can I do to prepare myself? And in today's economy, I always like online options that can totally be accessed for free. So let's talk about a few that I have used, or people that I know have used and have been very successful using. The first type is online learning. Allison is an online learning courses base that is run in several states in the South. Use this. There are free courses. You can learn new skills, or you can refresh older or other skills. This is important so that maybe you have a little bit of typing or Microsoft background, but you're not sure you're an expert. So you don't want to check that box on a resume. You can go in and take a free class to refresh the skill or learn the skill that you want. And they have such a variety of classes. It's really great to see how many different things that you might pop into and say, I might be interested in that. And just take that class for free. Like I said, it doesn't cost a thing. Other ones that you can use, some of you might have heard of Coursera. Coursera also has free online courses and link into different universities as well. Again, it's a great place to just learn new skills. It doesn't have to technically be what might be something you will need for the job you're looking for, but it might be something you're interested in and could open a whole new pathway to what you're doing. Udemy is another one that people have used. And again, these all run very typical. And again, but some of, like, especially Udemy, just make sure you are clicking on the free courses. They'll offer you other ones, but you're looking for the education from it. You're looking for the skill and knowledge, not necessarily the certificate. Other areas are learning lectures. There's a site called Eventbrite that's out there right now. Eventbrite basically hosts learning lectures or podcast type of things. There are a variety of subjects, everything from baking to economics to astronomy. You name it, it's out there. This is a great thing because once you start to pick up on these small lectures, you will start to find a connection, something you like, something you're interested in. You can start to follow your favorites. And Eventbrite will also at the same time allow you and send you, if you'd like, for weekly reminders of here's what's coming up that you might like, typical to what you have already chosen to watch. Again, totally free. The next one is LinkedIn. And I don't think people talk about this enough, but this is the difference maker in today's world. LinkedIn is totally free. You literally start to do your own page. It is the Facebook for business. You can choose the picture. You can choose everything you would like. You can upload your resume. You can also start to check out your skills and some of those soft skills that Kayla just spoke about. There are tests or small ways that you can actually show that you have those skills. It's also a great way to make connections. With connections, I mean, anyone who knows you can connect to you on LinkedIn and they can say, oh, I know Kayla has great presentation skills, so I'm going to put that on her LinkedIn page and give her that she's a great presenter. This way, you're getting almost at the same time, although it is not a reference that's written, you're also getting a reference right there that future employers, as they look at your page, can say, wow, she has other people that already know she has this skill. Some of the skills you may check and some of the skills you may have may not be able to fit on what is today's traditional resume. But here you can list anything and everything that you want. This is also a great ability for you to do some self-marketing. I know that you're, well, how do I market myself? And that's scary no matter whether you've been in the job force for a long time, it's your first time, or you're just changing job to job because you even get employed to something new. Self-marketing can be daunting as a task, but this is something here that this page helps you do it. Again, you can go in and change it, and you are allowed to say who gets to see it and who doesn't. Employers can see it if you'd like. And again, you can also sometimes, LinkedIn will link you to employers looking for your exact skill set. The other one I would suggest is this. Put yourself on sites like Indeed. You can upload your resume, but one of the other best facts that they put out is you can start to explore the openings. Maybe I want to be a teacher, or I think I want to be a teacher, so I'm looking for teaching openings. But then I see there's a counselor or something else or a different job that I might be interested in. I can start to explore any openings and find similar skills that maybe there's another job that I'd rather have and I never even thought of with my skill set. These sites also allow you to research the companies that you might want to be employed with. You can find out what the average salary is, what type of health benefits they give you. You can also see what their employees are saying about them, whether it's a great company to work for or whether it's not a company that values its employees very much. And Indeed, and some of these sites also, again, totally free, help match you, and they'll send you, if you'd like, they'll send you job opportunities and say your skills that we see totally match this job. And they'll actually help you fill out that employment application right there, which saves you a ton of time. Yes, it's a tough world anytime you want to go get a job, but you can do it, and using these sources in today's world is fantastic. And whether you have internet at home, you always have a public library and you have different sources that you can go to and jump on and jump off. And most of these places also have apps that you can put on your phone. So I'll just wind up and simply say this, one of my favorite quotes: invest in yourself and you build the brand of you. I thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to help.
Thanks so much, Jill. All right, so now we're going to switch over and hear from Sherry with CORE.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity. CORE is creating opportunities for recovery employment. We came into existence in 2019, and we have 3 hubs that have 2 employment specialists in each of those. And what we call a hub is like county areas, and we serve the 12 southern counties of West Virginia. And I do apologize, I've got an allergy thing going on, and it is really bad, and so I do apologize right up front. But CORE, we assist individuals in recovery to gain employment, as well as that assisting businesses to find a qualified, skilled workforce. Foundationally, we look at the whole person, and we use wraparound services, referrals, and as Deb mentioned earlier, we do work collaboratively, in working with them in referrals, and we do that quite well as a team. We also do a screening where we look at the individual and we create short-term and long-term goals, because oftentimes, as you know, coming out with substance use disorder, you are needing employment. That's one of the very important things with folks with substance use disorder. And so we are helping them, assisting them with the short-term and the long-term goals to that career pathway. Okay, you can click it. So looking at what you're looking for employment, there's also some other things. And Kayla, you hit on some of those soft skills. So I was like, oh yes, that's just great. We'll just reinforce that a little bit. So soft skills are very important for employers. I know Ashley and I, my director, we talk a lot about this. So that's your personality traits, characteristics, your behavior, your attitude, your values. And so these kind of include some critical thinking and some problem solving, decision making. When you have a situation or a problem and you have to evaluate that to make the most positive and professional judgment. Public speaking, how you present yourself, not so much public speaking, but how you present yourself well. Are you able to speak, and are you able to take that problem or take any situation and be able to clarify what you're trying to say. Professional, your positive attitude, being calm, you have a situation, and being professional when things go wrong, being able to talk with folks in a professional, quiet, calm manner. Communication, you can listen and speak as well as writing. I can tell you, writing is one of those arts I think that we've kind of lost a little bit because we're also used to texting and things like that. In some of our jobs, we have to, like our employment specialists, they have to keep case notes, and those have to be well written. And so honing in on your writing skills, that's a good thing as well. Teamwork, collaboration, respecting one another, digital literacy, technology, knowing the latest technology and what's out there and how you can improve that. And I think Kayla also hit on that a little bit as well. That's very important in the technology. Leadership, you're willing to learn, you're willing to take guidance. Sometimes we'll say that as constructive criticism, but I like to say it's taking guidance and being able to take what someone has to offer you and maybe help in helping you. Work ethic, honesty, attendance, timelines. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm having a little difficulty with this. I need a little bit of help. Employers would rather you come to them that way than just not meeting or just not turning something in on a deadline, because as the employer, there's a reason they give you that deadline. They have a deadline as well, so they're needing that information. 2, the skill sets, employment, review the job description as it relates to your skills. What skill sets do you have? Education, do you have the education needed to perform that position where you're applying, or do you need to gain additional training, education, or skills? Professionalism, that's being reliable, setting your own high standards, showing that you care about your job, what you're doing. And I think, Mandy, you mentioned a little bit about this too, and that was really great. If you don't like what you're doing, maybe you need to reassess that. So that's kind of where professionalism comes in as well. If you're not liking what you're doing, you need to take a look at that and make those changes. It's about being productive, organized, and holding yourself accountable for your actions and your words. So some other things to consider when looking for employment is the reputation of the company, the stability of the company. How long have they been in place? Have you heard, usually we'll hear in our smaller communities, what's going on with this particular company. If that's a company and their reputation, it's not something that you think you would want to be employed, then it's probably best to skip over that. Are there career advancement opportunities? Okay, so I'm going to start here. I have this skill set. I'm going to gain some additional education, training. Is there an opportunity there for me to advance in my career? Company values, do those values align with your values? I will be honest with you. I've worked in a position where initially for a number of years, the values of that company aligned with my values, but then I started to see changes and I made a change. Mandy, I made a change. And it was the best thing I could have done for myself because I was miserable those last couple of years because the values just didn't align with my values. Job location, we've talked about transportation. Transportation is a huge barrier in our state. What do I need to be able to get to where I need to be at work, to get there on time? If it's a bus schedule, I need to map that out and make sure that I'm taking the bus that's going to make sure that I get to my job on time. Work hours, as far as childcare, if you're going to be working hours where maybe childcare is not open. So you're going to have to look at a little bit of what's my other options? Do I have a family member? So looking at those types of things. Salary, is this what the salary that I need to, to pay my bills? So looking at that salary, benefits, what does that company have to offer me? Do they offer me leave time? Do they offer me retirement? Those types of things. Responsibilities and expectations for the position. What are the responsibilities? What is the expectation for me to gain employment with this particular employer? So that's in a nutshell, what to look for in employment, and some additional things. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And again, I thank you for this opportunity. So very sorry. And there's our information. Our director is Ashley Shaw. She's our core director, and she is, if you don't know Ashley, she is the best. She makes my work environment so positive. Our team just loves working with Ashley. And of course, my information as well. Again, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Sherry. We're very glad to have Sherry. Ashley had a emergency pop up and Sherry filled in and did a great job. And we're gonna switch things over. Sherry touched a little bit there on professionalism, and Ashley's gonna keep going with that topic.
Yeah, so Sherry covered so much great stuff on professionalism. And what I like to do is I like to put professionalism in the lens of who you see in your work environment or who you have in your life, because that gives us a really good idea of what things that maybe we can improve on. So, there are times where we're not all professional in the workplace. We are all fully human. We strive to be as good as we fully can be, but we do understand sometimes it doesn't happen. I myself, I had a baby during COVID, and I was taking care of her full time while working full time remote, dealing with postpartum at the time. And there are times where I missed deadlines, that I wasn't as professional as I could be. And so what I want you to do, and we're going to do a little activity, and it's something I want you to all reflect on, is I want you to envision somebody in your life who you view as professional. So what characteristics do they have? How do they show those characteristics, and how do they kind of act those out in their daily lives? And that's something I really want you to focus on for a quick second. Who are those people? What characteristics do they possess? And then once you kind of think about that for a minute, I want you to think, how can you emulate that? So how can you emulate those characteristics of professionalism that Sherry talked about, being on time, maybe it's confidence. And that's something, that I struggled with postpartum, is gaining that confidence back. And what are some small little adjustments that you can make? One of the things that helped me immensely is doing some gratitude journaling, reflecting on what was really good. So what did I do really good that day? What were some of the things that, maybe I can improve on, but really focusing truly on what was good. And that helps me immensely gain that confidence back. That's something that I always love to share with people, and kind of push forward, of making those small little changes will impact you forever going down the road. Those add up over time. So, when you're doing this analysis on, yourself as a professional in the workplace, just making those small adjustable changes will help you, grow over that long term. And so finding little action items to do that. There are so many resources out there, and everybody has done a fabulous job throughout this entire presentation on giving you all of these resources out there. Take advantage of those, because again, and you don't have to do them all at once. Don't think that we want you to do them all at once. We know you're human. You have things on your plate that do, prevent you from doing them all at once. Nobody can do them all at once. In a perfect world, we can't do them all at once. So pick what's right for you. Pick what's working for you and work on that, because that positive mindset and that growth mindset over time will help you in your search. It will help you in your job once you get into that place. And so I think that that's really important to think about too, is, focus on what those little adjustments are that you can change, and that's going to help you grow as a professional over time. Some other things that I wanted to kind of highlight that Sherry was talking about in professionalism, one of my biggest things when you're thinking about professionalism, and one of the biggest topics I always like to showcase is that honor your commitments. Honor the commitments to yourself, as well as honoring those commitments that you've made for your employer. Honor those commitments that you made to yourself. If you've set goals for yourself, if you do that, make sure you're giving that the time of day to, again, grow, to be in that great mindset. Because there are times where, you know, we all have work-life balances that have to shift, things that fall off our table as mothers, as humans. And so honoring those commitments to yourself and to your workplace will help you be happier long-term, as well as show you're able to focus on that professionalism there. If you're a happier worker, you're going to show up in a positive mindset at that workplace and be able to focus on that work because you're happy, you're in a better place, and really focusing on what's at hand versus thinking about all of those things that, you know, we're moms that 900 things going on the back that we don't see on a day-to-day basis. When you're able to manage those, you can help yourself kind of long-term and in that career setting and in that setting. The other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on that Sherry kind of touched on too, was that professional dress side of things. And this is something that is so different for each employer. So if there's a time that you don't know, never ever hesitate to ask. The employers want to help you. So if you don't know what that dress code is going to be for the interview, and you got a phone call that you have to be on site tomorrow, the next day, whatever that might be, ask them. Be like, hey, how should I dress for this interview? They are going to help you. They want to help you. They want to see you succeed. They wouldn't be calling you for an interview if they didn't want to hire you. And that's one thing to think about too, and keeping that positive mentality. They wouldn't be calling you for these interviews or, you know, replying to these if they didn't have the long-term goal to hire you. And so you have to show yourself to that best of ability. So ask the questions that, you know, are going to help you gain, you know, better insights on what to expect in those roles. Communication, Sherry really did a great job of talking about, but one thing that you can always do is just be appropriate, respectful, be open and honest with your employer. If you can't hit that deadline, there are plenty of deadlines that I missed, you know, in that like 2020 to 2021 range that, you know, I was really open and honest with my my boss, and I was saying, hey, you know, I'm struggling with this. Can we work through this? How can I get there? You know, I might need a little bit more time. And I found a really great place that aligns with my values. I have a very understanding supervisor. And when I was doing the job search, that's one thing that really drew me to where I'm at now, was that honesty, understanding, and openness in the workplace. And that's something that I do push onto you to look at that as well. And then attitude, we talked about kind of the positivity can go a long way. It truly can. There's nothing, you know, in that workplace that kind of drives everybody down than a negative attitude. And so when you're in that positive environment, you are in that positive mindset, you are able to hit those goals. It feels like a little bit easier than when you're in that negative mindset and you're really focusing on that negative. So just a few little things to take away. Above all, you know, the job search as a whole, interviewing, if you're in that process, or even just career searching, it's a long process. Make sure you're taking care of yourself during that entire process, because it can be very stressful. And just know that there are resources out there. We've all given you amazing resources. So just know that they're out there. Know that there are people that are here for you, and you guys are going to do fabulous. So I'll kick it off. I think either Jesse or Danica is next. So thank you all.
Moving right ahead. She's right. Danica's up.
All right. So I'm so glad Kayla did such a great job about talking about resumes and really everything that that you need to know. And now I'm actually going to show you where you can find some resume templates, because there's no need to spend your time focusing on making your formatting perfect when there's great resources out there for free. And both our website and CCD's website, we have sample resumes. And if you're applying for a job in a certain area, you can look for majors in that area or a certain pathway. But also if you're looking for ideas on how to be creative or what sections might work for you, don't think that you have to be married to one of these templates. You can change things, but honestly, I'm going to start with, I'll start with the communications one. It's my favorite one. I go back to it. I've gone back to it all along, and I think it's because I was a waitress for several years. And so that experience is most similar to mine. But you'll see that all of our samples have a PDF copy, so you can just look at it and see what it's supposed to look like if you're using that to kind of brush up a resume that you have. Or if you look at this and you think, you know what, I really like this, I just want this resume. They are on here also as Word documents, and you can just copy and paste your information into them that way. But on here, I'll go back into the communications one. That's the skills that we talked about, leadership, depending on what is important in the jobs that you're applying for, you can highlight it. Something that we suggest a lot of times too, if you have some experience that's relevant mixed in with maybe experience that's not so relevant, is just starting a section called relevant experience. And then everything that's relevant to the job you're applying to can go right there. And it brings it up to the top of your resume. Is the first thing that an employer sees. And so it helps, you know, point them in the right direction. And so those are the samples on our website. And Kayla is going to have those links to send out to you so you can find them. There are amazing business world ones over at CCD. So you can take a look at those. They're the same way. They have the PDF example and then the Word documents. So take a look at those. It can actually give you some great ideas for bullet points. But that actually brings me to the next website that I want to show you, which is ONET. I'm an English major, so I go back to like all of the writing, and sometimes I don't get so hung up on the formatting. I get hung up on making sure the wording is exactly right, rather than just getting my information on paper. And so again, I went back to my waitressing experience on ONET. It comes from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And so there is pretty much every job out there. You might have to look for a different name, but you can type in the search box, whether it's a career that you're looking into, or you're looking for some ideas on how to make your, like what things you did on the job that maybe you've forgotten about that might be relevant. You can type it in here, and then there's actually two things on here that I'm going to show you. It's a wealth of information. There's everything from salary to jobs with similar skill sets and things like that. But for the purposes of resumes, you want to look at the task section. There are 25 tasks on here that start out with great action verbs, a lot of different action verbs that go into, like this one goes into really great detail about the tasks on the job. And it just tells the reader so much more than, waiting tables, took orders and brought food to the table. It just tells them so much more about what you do in the job, and can give you, I think, a really good start. You can find one that fits your need, and then start with that, and then adapt it to whatever you need. The other part in your job search that is very helpful on ONET is this part right here at the top, sample of reported job titles. So many times there's the exact same job, but it's just called something different at a different company. So this actually comes from job titles that are out there, banquet server, buffet server, I'm surprised, restaurant server. These are all other reported job titles. You can try searching whenever you're looking for a job, that it will give you more results than the results that you've already found. And so again, career services, build a resume. We've got a bunch of different templates, and John Chambers, CCDs, and ONET. And I believe now I'm going to turn it over to Jessie, and she's going to talk to you about interviewing. Let me stop sharing.
Jesse, do you want to share your screen or do you want me to click through on my side?
If you want to share, that's just as easy for me because you have the same slides. So that would be
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about interviewing, which is near and dear to my heart. I used to be a corporate recruiter, so I've heard everything on the other end. And I've helped students for about 7 years now just get better at interviewing. And here are just a few tips that I want to go over that'll help anyone interview a little better. But before we get into these, the first thing, interviewing can be hard because you're literally telling someone you don't know very well about your skills and abilities. So first and foremost, what I want you to remember is going into an interview is not like going to a first date. You do not have to tell them all of your personal information ever. That's when they ask your greatest strength, they're not asking, what is your greatest strength of all time? Every question they ask, they want to know what's the answer for this job. So you want to get to know that job description. What are the skills? What are the soft skills we've been talking about? Everyone's done a great job of giving you good groundwork. So think about your soft skills and look at the job description. What are they looking for? And tell them how you're qualified throughout all your answers. That's it. You don't have to tell them anything else. And I encourage you not to, because that is what happens a lot is we get too personal in these job interviews and you're not telling them everything that you are wonderful at in the job that you're applying to. Another thing to remember, if you're coming in for an interview, you're already qualified. So all you have to do is provide proof with your answers. And by doing that, it's being positive. You want to be positive in every aspect of yourself. You want to be nice to everyone you're involving with, including who's scheduling the interview, everyone you come across as you're going through your day. Be positive with your own experiences. And by that, I mean, if they ask you, can you tell me about a time you did something great for a customer? You don't want to give them a great story and then say, but really, I didn't do much. It was my manager that took over it. Don't do that to yourself. Interviewing is about knowing what you're capable of. So tell them how you fix the situation. You can talk about having your manager involved, but they want to know what you did. And also be positive about everyone else. And by that, I mean, they're going to ask you a question. Tell me about a time you didn't get along with a supervisor. And what they're going to look for are your facial expressions. They're going to see, oh, are you going to make this face like, because we all have had a supervisor we did not get along with. And that facial expression is going to let them know if you've gotten over it or if you're still kind of holding on to it. So even if you didn't have a great experience in that, be positive about it. Talk about what you learned. Talk about how that's going to make you better in the future. So be positive in your answers, be positive about yourself and everyone you've ever worked with. And also do your research. We've talked about researching employers, know what the company does, what the position is going to do, and all of that is online. So you can either at your personal computer or at the library, do the research on the company. Also give examples. And I have some examples we'll show later, but essentially for every question they give you, if they ask your greatest strength, tell them about a time you used that greatest strength. The only time you don't want to use that is in the weakness. And that's because in a weakness, you want to choose something that's not a deal breaker. Meaning that if you're going to be working for customer service, you don't want to tell them that you do not like working with people. That is like a no-no. But instead, maybe tell them, sometimes you're an introvert, but you're working on it and how. That is really what you want to do with a weakness answer is tell them what you're working on. The three that I stay away from, even if it is something you're working on, is procrastination. Don't say that word, even though we all procrastinate. Time management, same thing. And anger management, which we also all deal with. You just don't want to say those things in an interview. Find other ways to say it. You want to prepare questions, no matter what the interview is. You want to have questions for them at the end. Something along the lines of, What's the company culture like? Can you tell me more about the daily duties in this position? All of those are really appropriate questions to ask at the end. I encourage you to have 5. Practice interviewing with people and try to see how they feel about your answers. Practicing is really helpful to get it out, even if you don't want to sound rehearsed. And deciding what to wear, like we talked about, is very much dependent on the industry. And I'm so glad Ashley said that. You can always ask. Whether you're scheduling the interview, you can say what's appropriate. So those are my major tips when it comes to interviewing. We can go to the next slide. These are some general questions that we use here at WVU at the Career Service Center. Ones I want to focus on are the behavioral-based questions, because they're the ones that get everyone kind of messed up because they make you think of an example. So these are, anytime you hear describe a time or tell me about a time, they're really wanting you to give them an example of a time that you displayed whatever it is they're looking for. So describe a time when you were faced with a stressful situation and demonstrated your coping skills. I mean, jobs, we get paid to do them because usually they're not the most fun thing in the entire world. So you're going to have stressful situations and they want to know, what did you do? So in the next slide, I'm going to show you guys the STAR system. So whenever you are in a situation where they ask you a behavioral-based question, you can think of this. You want to start with the situation, the task. What did you do to fix the situation and what were the results? And in the next slide, I have an example. So here it is. What do you do when a team member refuses to complete his or her quota of the work? I think we've all had that team member at some point. Another tip, if they're asking you the question, you're probably going to be dealing with that in your position. So that's why they're asking it. I like to think of this as the buildup. There are team conflicts or issues. I try my best to step up as a team leader if needed. I think my communication skills make me an effective leader and moderator. You can also tell them, I think my speaking ability and my ability to help people calm down, whatever it is you want to put there. For example, one time I was working on a team project, 2 of the team members got embroiled, and I don't know why we use that word. It's not my favorite word to use embroiled right there, so use your own language. In an argument, both refusing to complete their assignments. That's the situation and the task. You were trying to help the people you were working with, complete their assignments. They were both dissatisfied with their workload, so I arranged a team meeting where we relocated all assignments among the team members. This made everyone happier and more productive, and our project was a success. You can use this for anything. So remember STAR, remember if they ask you a situational question that you can actually go through it and think, okay, what was the situation? Don't spend too much time on it. Talk about what you did to improve it, and then what were the results.
Does anyone have any questions for our speakers? If not, you are free to go. Again, I will get in touch with everyone who attended and let you know once we have your goodies. Everyone will also get a drawstring bag that has some goodies in there as well. And those will be delivered or be at your navigator offices. And I will get you all of that information once we actually have them delivered. So just wait to get some information from me before you go to get them. Okay, so that way you know that they're there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.